Hello, everyone. Dr. Vicky here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center. I'm going to be doing an in the news segment on Kate Middleton. I just did a reading on her, and we looked at her chart and the like. But I thought I'd do something a little bit more in depth to come to understand who she is. Now, before I get into this, I do want to say that I am not a watcher of the royals. I do not, I didn't follow any of the kerfuffle around Meghan Markle, although I know it couldn't have been very good considering her and Harry had to escape back to America. I'm sure it was very difficult. There's a lot of shadowy stuff that happens in these situations that we don't always understand. There are things that can be said, there are things that can't be said, but there are human beings involved in this giant sort of passion play that is occurring. I do want to comment that Pluto is now in Aquarius, and this is not a time where being royal is necessarily a good thing or a popular thing, is in that Aquarius is about raising all boats. And there's really no sensibility around being born special. We're all special. We all have our special gifts and our special abilities that we bring forth, that we're here to experience. Um, and I don't envy anybody in this situation. Now, I know that the people that watch me are generally pretty even keeled and not mean spirited. But I will say that if there are any kind of um, negative, not necessarily negative, you don't have to always agree with me, but we do need to have some decorum, which I don't think I have to tell most of you, but if there is any like trolly stuff there, I will remove it. Because this is about understanding a person, not judging a person, and trying to, when we're dealing with people who are who are celebrities or royalty or anybody who's sort of special in their way. It's there to teach us all a lesson. And so I think that we need to look at this in with that sensibility. All right. So let's get into Kate. Um, all right. Oh, here we go. All right. So we're looking at Kate Middleton, Catherine Middleton. What's her middle name? Elizabeth, Catherine Elizabeth Middleton, um, who is the Princess of Wales now that her husband William became the Prince of Wales. That happened when his father became the king. So he's moved up the ranks. Um, William and Kate have three children. Prince George, who is next in line after his father William, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis. They have three children together. We're going to look at her chart. We're going to look at when they got married. We're going to look at her chart with William's chart. We're going to look at a lot of stuff, depending on how much, quite frankly, depending on how much time I have. Hold on one second. I think I haven't shared this with you yet, so let me. Sorry about that. I'm a little. It's kind of. I don't think I've had enough coffee, honestly, even though I've had 2 cups, which should be plenty, but you know, sometimes. All right, let's do this. I was looking at her chart and looking at her, but you weren't. So let's have you look at her. Oh my goodness gracious, gracious goodness. Where are we? Where are we? All right, one second here. I'm so sorry that I don't have this organized this morning. I guess, is that what we want? Is that what I want? No, but well, this is a good place to start anyway. Um, let's start at the beginning here with Kate. We're just going to look at Kate, and then we'll look at everything else. Okay. Let us. Okay, now we're together. Now we're on the same page. So, Kate was born the 9th of January, 1982. She is a Capricorn sun with her moon in Cancer. She's actually a full moon baby, and she was born, and her birthday is on an eclipse. She is a full moon lunar eclipse baby here. She has her nodes, her south node in Capricorn, here her north node in Cancer, her moon in Cancer is conjunct her north node, her sun in Capricorn is conjunct her south node. So this is considered a south node eclipse, a south node eclipse. And so there is this energy with south node eclipses to understand what needs to be let go of the south node so that you can evolve into the north node. Now she has her moon there in conjunct the north node. So if we look at this from the perspective of previous lifetimes, she has brought that moon over to the north node. So she, and of course, that north node in Cancer is asking her to feel her feelings. And of course, her moon is there, so she does feel her feelings. She's a very a feeling person, although she doesn't have a whole lot of uh, water in her chart. She has her moon in water, but she also has Jupiter in water. And we'll see that her Jupiter is significant in her chart. And of course, anything connected to the nodes is going to be significant. I do want to point out that she has Saturn in a very tight square to the nodes. She also has Pluto square the nodes. Saturn is tighter than Pluto, but we have a Saturn-Pluto conjunction here. It is in a balsamic phase to each other, meaning that when she was born, Saturn was approaching its conjunction to Pluto, which occurred in 1982. Was it 82 that it happened? I believe in a latter degree of Libra. But so Saturn balsamic to Pluto. Balsamic is about extracting meaning. It's about letting go of old structures, the transformation of old structures. And there's really nothing more structured, really, than in a way than Libra, maybe Capricorn, but then she has Capricorn as well. And so there is this energy of dissolving or transforming a sense of what you're responsible for and what you're not responsible for. Now she does have, we're gonna talk about Saturn square her nodes, and we just have to keep in mind that Pluto is also there. The resolution node, when you have planets square the nodes, you feel caught between the past and the future. You feel like you can't completely let go of the past. The past in her case would be her duty, sixth house, and her responsibility, South Node in Capricorn with her sun there. So she has a deep sense of responsibility to service. And her moon up there in the 12th house is also 12th house energy is collective energy. And so she really is here to um, show something to the collective or serve the collective in a way. But the resolution node of her Saturn square the nodes and her Pluto square the nodes is the North Node in Cancer. And it's in the 12th house. The North Node in Cancer requires us to nurture ourselves, right? It's a self-nurturance. She has the moon there, so it's necessary. It's in the 12th house. She needs her time alone, and I'm not sure what kind of time alone that she gets, although I have a feeling she's probably alone right now. But this is about sort of going into that space where you need time to yourself to sort of figure things out. I think that's in part what she has done, and she has fallen ill with something, and oftentimes we'll see that people fall ill and they need time to recuperate, and that's the only way they allow themselves to have time for themselves, unfortunately. But her resolution node is the North Node, and so in order for her to really serve uh, humanity, which is a 12th house thing, she needs to take care of herself. She needs to self nurture. She needs self care. And doing that, taking that initiative to do that is very helpful, not just to her, uh, which is most helpful to, but to all of us, to show us that sometimes it's more important that we take care of ourselves than our responsibilities to other people, um, to a certain extent. Okay. Um, I also want to point out that, um, what else do I want to point out? I think that's what I want to say here. She does have a Leo rising, so she has a natural leadership qualities. Leo rising tend to be, regal in their demeanor, so she knows how to do that. She has beautiful hair, the whole sort of Leo thing. She's a beautiful woman, and but she has been looking kind of troubled for a while now. All right, let's continue. So, what I want to point out about her numerology and her Kabbalah is that the majority of her numbers in her numerology, her path of life, which is her lesson in this lifetime, her quiescent, which is her outer personality, she brings this in this lifetime. This is something she possesses, and her shadow, which is what she's come in to heal, are all in a place on the tree of life called Hesed. It's the blue circle here. It's associated energetically with the throat chakra, and so she needs to speak her truth. She needs to speak of her needs. Hesed is Jupiter. It's connected to Jupiter, and one of the lessons in Hesed is to say no. Is to say no, to realize that you have to um, be able to, as much as you might want to, you have to learn to have boundaries around this, right? Her soul vibration, this is her inner self, is in Tiphereth, which is the heart chakra. So this is a heart-centered soul. The 60/6 is the Six of Swords, which is moving out of troubled waters. So in order for her to be in good relationship with her own soul, she needs to move away from the emotional uh, upheaval, the waters, the rough waters, and move into a place of isolation, or she needs to cross the water and find peace. Right? That's the 60/6. The 6 is about responsibility as a base number, and the 0 puts the God force in, and so it's a higher vibrational energy with the 6/0. And it is an Aquarian energy. So this is somebody who's very concerned with the collective. And we can actually see that in the fact that she has both these two personal planets, Venus and Mercury, in Aquarius. I do want to point out that her Venus is retrograde. When you have a Venus retrograde, you're a little bit out of step with everybody else. The things that are important to everybody else are not necessarily important to you. And you don't always understand your own value as a person. Okay. And then she also has Mercury in Aquarius. So this Aquarian energy very much sits in with her soul vibration. Her expression, how she balances her inner and outer self. Now, her quiescent vibration, excuse me one moment. So this is her soul vibration, for those of you who don't know what this Six of Swords looks like. So this is about moving out of troubled waters here. Okay. So she needs that. She needs to stay in good relationship with her soul. Her outer personality is this vibration, the Four of Pentacles. Okay. This is a Capricorn vibration, Four of Pentacles. And of course, she is a Capricorn and she has her South Node in Capricorn. This is her expression, how she finds balance. This is the 15-6 vibration, which you can see over here, 15-6. And this is about being chained, being in prison, or not. The choice is yours. Her path of life, what she's here to learn is this vibration, the Four of Wands. This is a 30/3 vibration, and it has to do with creative self-expression. Okay, so the last vibration located here is her shadow. And her shadow is this vibration. It's the 58-4 vibration. Okay. Now, this is about rest and recuperation. But it's also a vibration of when you have it as a shadow, you feel out of step and out of touch with what everybody else is experiencing. You feel like an outsider. And she does have Venus retrograde, which is also an indication of somebody who feels like they don't fit in. They don't have the same values as the majority of people around them. So they can feel a little bit like an alien, quite frankly. Um, now, excuse me. Um, because there's so much energy in Hesed, I wanted to look at her Jupiter. And she has Jupiter in the fourth house in Scorpio. Now, whenever a planet is in Scorpio, it is about a transformation. It's about a change, a total transformation in what? Jupiter, what you believe, what you believe. So, in part, her energy with this preponderance of Jupiter vibration here in Hesed, where you have to learn how to say no, okay, located energetically in her throat chakra. So she has to feel, she has to have the right to say what she needs to say. It's in her fourth house. And your fourth house is your family, your clan, your country. And so she does have a deep sense of responsibility to her country, to her family, to her family's values, and to what her family believes is true. And yet, Jupiter is about, Scorpio is about change and transformation. And I wouldn't think that she would need to necessarily, well, she definitely, this is definitely a theme, but it's actually a theme that's connected to her shadow, which means that it's a theme connected to her need to heal, her need to heal. Now, she does have Chiron in Taurus, which is also an energy of healing. It is trine um, her sun, very tightly trine her sun, sextile her moon. And so she does have empathy for the what like the wounded, but it's in Taurus, which is tradition. And so tradition can be very wounding for her, can be very wounding for her. And we can't forget that her the queen was a Taurus, wasn't at 18, it was early in Taurus, think 0 Taurus, but there's that. I think that when the queen was around, people had respect for the queen and loved the queen. Now that the queen's not there, in some ways there's more freedom, and in other ways I think there's a less sense of security just in general. Um, so I wanted to look at Jupiter as far as the Sabian symbols. And the Sabian symbol for 8 degrees of Jupiter, when you're dealing with the Sabian symbols, you have 7 degrees, 16 minutes. Doesn't matter as long as there's a minute here, you have to go up, right? So 7:16 is actually 8 degrees. And the Sabian symbol is stillness. The secret joy of the inner world made available to those who know how to find peace through stillness, development of compassion and helpfulness through centering into peace. And we can see that her north node in the 12th house with her moon there sort of indicates that as well. Now, when you have Saturn square the nodes, and it's very tight in her chart, you have you're sort of uh, stuck between the past and the future. Um, Saturn is about issues of responsibility. What's your responsibility? What's not your responsibility? She's a very responsible person. She's got all this Capricorn. She has a 6 soul vibration. Her expression is 6. All 6 is the number of responsibility, your ability to respond, your understanding of the need to be of service to the community, right? So she has that. But we have Saturn here squaring it, and Saturn is the rules. It's prison, quite frankly, and it's in Libra, so it's a beautiful prison and it's a lovely prison, but it's a prison all the same. The resolution node for her. How does she get out of this Saturn square the nodes energy? And remember, Pluto is there as well, and so Pluto square the nodes is her soul has asked her to come in to do this, right? The resolution node in this case is the north node in Cancer. And so we look to see the north node in Cancer. It says meeting. The symbol for the north node in Cancer is a meeting of the literary society. Artistic influence, those whose function it is to bring unconscious feelings to light are both observers and co-creators of the soulful realities, learning the hidden language of image and metaphor. And so this artistic influence, this energy of stillness, this north node in the 12th house. Now, the 12th house is often given a bit of a bad rap. It's, the things that undo you, it's asylums and prisons and sometimes when you have the north node in that 12th house, you will spend time in a situation where you're isolated, whether it's a prison or an asylum or an ashram, a hospital. Those are all uh, connected to. And so I think this time for her is very important. And because of the fact that the nodes right now are square her nodes, she's at a crossroads. She is at a crossroads. And in fact, I believe the south node is right on her Saturn right now. So the south node, which is what do we need to let go of, has gone over her Pluto and her Saturn. So I think on a certain level, she's had to let go of her sense of responsibility that has kept her uh, sort of restricted. I don't think she's not somebody, I think she needs that sort of fun and sort of carefree and an ability to just let her hair down and let loose. And I don't think she actually has that ability or that anybody really wants her to do that. Okay, so let's keep going and see what else we see here. So this is Kate's chart with the day of her wedding, the day of her wedding. They got married in 2011. And I want to point out that when she got married, Saturn, the planet of responsibility, was making a conjunction to her Mars. Mars is your ability to be free, really. It's in Libra, so she does understand that she has responsibilities, social responsibilities, but Saturn there indicates that her freedom of movement would be restricted by marrying William. Okay. What else is going on? We have the North Node at the time of she got married going over her Neptune in the fifth house. So this is the fairy tale wedding. In fact, William is also born in the same year. So this is true of his chart as well. The North Node was on his Neptune. But his Neptune is part of a Yod configuration that we'll look at because we're going to look briefly at William here. And let's see what else. We had the sun up here in the 10th house, so everybody saw it. She looked beautiful. It was very traditional. She wore a very traditional wedding dress, very covered up. And what else? Pluto was making a trine to the sun here on the day, so that's powerful. It's a Leo trine, Pluto to the sun, so that's indication of royalty, right? All right, let me see. Is there anything else I want to see here? Venus was opposite her Mars, and we had Saturn opposite Venus on that day. Well, Venus in the sky was opposite her Mars. So on a certain level, this was a dream come true for her. This was, and I think she was willing to make the sacrifices that she would need to make to be William's wife. Now, this is William's chart. Now, he was born on an eclipse as well, and it was a new moon. He's a new moon baby. He's actually new moon. It was a new moon, and it's new phase. So his sun and his moon in Cancer. This is about feelings, feeling your feelings. His south node is in Capricorn. South node in Capricorn is somebody who goes by, understands the rules. This is very traditional, sort of very restrictive, but his north node is in Cancer. So he's come in to feel his feelings, and he has his sun and his moon right there. So he definitely does feel it. He came in to learn how to relate on an emotional level, right? The seventh house and the north node in Cancer. His vibrations, these are very interesting. I put in his soul vibration is a 59.5. That's the 5 of swords. His quiescent, 72/9. Him and Kate have the same quiescent. And so they understand each other. And your quiescent is your outer self. It's like how you put yourself out there. So there's a commonality at least on the outside. On the inside, it's a little bit different. Kate has that 6 vibration, which is an Aquarius vibration. And he also has a 5 vibration, which is actually also an Aquarius vibration. So their souls are both Aquarian in nature, although his soul is connected to Kabura, which is associated with the planet Mars. Here's his Mars. His Mars is conjunct her Mars. So they kind of, in a way, I believe it's conjunct his Mars. Let me just double check on that because I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure her Mars. Yeah, so his Mars and her Mars are the same. They probably have some pretty drag out fights with that, but so this soul is connected to the Mars energy here because his soul is located in Gabora, which is associated with Mars. His outer personality is located in the place where we have Jupiter. We have Jupiter in Scorpio. This is close enough to be conjunct her Jupiter, but his is retrograde and hers is not. And Jupiter is a planet associated with royalty, and we have his Jupiter right up there in the 9th house, conjunct his MC, but it is retrograde, so his monarchy will be different than probably the traditional monarchy. His path of life is a 4711. That's the 7 of Cups. 11 is about relationship, and we know that he's learning about relationship. There's his North Node in the house of relationship. This is associated with the planet Venus. Here's his Venus. He has Venus conjunct Chiron. This is a wounding here, okay? And it's also, because it's an 11 and it's the lower part of the tree, it's an initiation of the personality. So he's going through an initiation process. His expression vibration is a 14.5. This is actually along this path that connects the sun and the moon, both in Cancer in his case. And this is the Temperance card. So he really he walks a very fine line. His shadow is the 55-1. This is the Ace of Swords. Now, I personally have had experience with people with a shadow, 55-1 shadow. And when they get into their head and they're not in their heart, they can be very cruel, very, very cruel. So it is a shadow. It is something that he has to heal in this lifetime. And it is connected to his crown chakra. It's important for him, especially because he's going to be in a position of power and because of where his shadow is, that he stays connected to some sort of sense of God, goddess, all that is. He has to have some spiritual connection in order for him to not become perhaps a megalomaniac or lose his mind. But I do want to point out that his shadow in Kether is associated with Pluto and Neptune. So we have a shadow, Pluto, Neptune. It's a one shadow. One shadows can not know who they are, or they can think they're the best thing since sliced bread and nobody else counts. But his path is about learning to be in relationship. And his path is associated with Venus. And if we look, he has a yod to Venus and Chiron in Taurus, which is what we value. Taurus is what's essential, what we need, what's important. And it's in a yod to Pluto and Neptune. So this is the shadow here, right? Pluto, Neptune. Now, sometimes with a shadow in here, you can have a loss and you feel like God's picking on you, right? I'm sure that has something to do with the loss of his mother, And his mother was, as much as she loved him and she was, I'm sure he loved her, and he was raised very differently than most royals because of her. She did have some mental and emotional instability. So there is a sort of a crazy thing going on here that he may be trying to navigate through. Like, too much emotions is not good, right? Even though he's being asked to feel his feelings with all his cancer. I want to just look at his this here. This is so Venus Chiron conjunction at 26 degrees of Taurus. This is connected to his wound, okay? Not because but his path. How does he navigate his wounds? How does he walk his path while having these wounds? Acting appropriately. Personal desires are acted out according to the permitted roles that our culture lays down, learning how to behave appropriately. So now that's really his whole life, learning how to behave appropriately. But we have to remember it is connected to his wound. It is connected to his wound. Now, if we go over here and we look at his chart, we notice that he also has Saturn and Pluto square the nodes. And Saturn is tighter, not as tight as his wife, but still tight. And Saturn square the nodes, it's the same deal for him. His resolution node is his North Node in Cancer. So the resolution node of his issues around responsibility, this is also father issues with Saturn here, okay, is North Node at 19 degrees of Cancer, an old man facing a dark space, remembering eternal truth. All that passes away proves to have been ephemeral. What remains is the lasting truth, discovery of universal eternal truths. And what's interesting is, of course, his shadow is the Ace of Swords, which is the sword of truth. He has a very challenging chart. He is a soul that has asked a lot of himself. And so there's no blame here, right? There's no blame. So I wanted to just look at Kate's chart with her children, just to kind of see how those are, because I think she has different relationships with each child. So here's George. This is her first son. This is the uh, in the line of succession after William, right? We have George, little George, and we have his son on her north node. This is like the joy. This is really part of he sort of came in as part of her reason to incarnate, right? To be the mother of the king. Of course, the sun can be the king, so it's a royal sort of energy, the center, right? But it's interesting because his son is at the last degree of Cancer, and his father's son is at the first degree of Cancer. So we're looking at from father to son, the whole gamut, right, of Cancer energy. His Saturn here on her Jupiter, the north node was conjunct her Jupiter, so this is also bringing in the kingly energy. His moon in Capricorn, his sun in Cancer. He is also a full moon baby, just like his mother, but not an eclipse. He's not on an eclipse. His nodes are the north node in Scorpio, the south node in Virgo, but his south node is conjunct his mother's Chiron. Okay. And so he's known his mother before. This is not their first lifetime together, but we can see how she has sort of brought him in to the world. Now we could look at this a lot deeper, but I want to keep this, I don't want to keep you on forever because that's what ends up happening, right? So here's little Charlotte. She's my favorite. And we can see that we have the North Node when Charlotte was born, conjunct her mother's Mars. So on some level, she brings her mother's Mars out, right? She brings that out in her mother. She has her Mars on Kate's Chiron, and we have her Saturn sitting on Kate's Uranus. Now, Kate has this Uranus. This is the rebel. Saturn she's a little bit of you're not supposed to do that, Mama. This is the way it's supposed to happen. She's a Taurus, this little one. And I think she was very connected to her grandmother. I think she really enjoyed all the regalia and all of that stuff that came with, being the princess. But she does, in a way, hold back her mother's more rebellious nature, perhaps. Her Pluto is on her mother's sun. This is transformation of who Kate is, okay? Which is not unusual. I mean, most kids change you, right? And her moon here is on Kate's Saturn, which remember is square the node. So this, in a way, her children, she's done her due diligence, but her children activate that node a little bit more. It's like, here's a little bit more energy for the node. You have to deal with this Saturn square the node, Mom. And now let's look at Louis. And I picked this picture especially because of the chart. Now, of all her children, I think Louis probably gives her the hardest time because he's the youngest and he's Louis. And we have Louis is another Taurus, as if she doesn't have enough Tauruses in her life. So he's a Taurus. But look at this. His Mars is on her sun. That's this right here. I don't want to hear you. They've known each other before too. Pluto on her south node. Mars, Pluto on her south node. This is a old relationship. And not the easiest relationship. I'm sure she absolutely adores her children, but this is not an easy kid to raise, because in a way he has more power than she does in this configuration. But here we have her Venus and her Mercury on his south node. So there's a love and appreciation there as well. He has his moon in Leo, conjunct the north node in Leo. Would he prefer to be the king than his brother? Yep. Yep. Which is not unusual, right? When these things happen. Okay. So let's continue here. So here we have another relationship in Kate's life, and this is Meghan Markle. So I bring Meghan up because I was actually watching the Oracle of Whimsy. So this is for you, Whimsy. Some of the things that you said in your reading, I was intuiting myself. I didn't like. I've always thought that Kate and Meghan could have been great friends if it had been allowed, but I don't think it was allowed. And I've always sort of seen Meghan as sort of a bright light coming into a dark place, with the royals. And I think she's been very helpful to her husband, Harry, to get in touch with his feelings and understand like what is appropriate when it comes to how you should deal with children who are having feelings. She herself had feelings. I mean, she didn't come from the best situation. She doesn't have a great relationship with her family. She has a great relationship with her mother, but not with her father, I guess. Although I think they were very close at one time. And then her stepsister, I know there's a problem there. So Meghan is kind of an only child, whereas Catherine is not. Catherine has Pippa. And I'm sure that I don't know what kind of relationship they have, but I would think that it was pretty close, and not close and not competitive. Although Kate definitely has a competitive streak. Okay. And so I just want to point out that Meghan's North Node is in Leo and South Node is in Aquarius here. She has a Leo sun. She has a full house here. She's got a Cancer rising. This is how she comes across as nurturing, and I definitely see that. Her Mars in Cancer. She does want to take action to nurture the collective, right? She got involved with Harry through similar uh, similar humanitarian endeavors, just like and I think Harry sees in her his mother. And Diana's sun is right around, I think, 9 or 10 degrees of Cancer, and so we can see her energy is very much like Diana's energy. Um, she has her moon in Libra, her Saturn in Libra, and her Jupiter in Libra. This is also somebody who knows what's expected of her and what's expected in society. Okay, in society. She does have her Venus in Virgo, so she's not, Venus in Virgo is always trying to improve themselves, but they don't always know their own value. Now, Kate has Venus uh, in Aquarius, but it's retrograde. So that's also sort of a theme, not really understanding her value, but she's also out of touch with what most other people in her group may go along with. Okay. So I wanted to put them together. So what we have here is, this is Kate and this is Meghan on the outside. And we're going to switch it. So we're going to look at both things. Now, this was when they first were hanging out together, and this was at the funeral for the Queen. And this is painful. I see, and Whimsy brought this out, but it's easy enough to see, honestly. Um, here's somebody who's feeling the loss of the Queen, I think, the loss of a motherly energy. Plus, this is the Queen, they left under a cloud, really. And I think she kind of wishes it had been different. That's what this face looks like. But there's compassion in this face and a softness. And Kate looks just effing mad, man. She looks pissed off. She also looks a little terrified. And I think part of that is like oh, now my life's going to get even less, I'm going to have even less freedom. And Whimsy said this is somebody who's in jail. And her chart bears that out, actually. But let's see how Meghan, like, what is it? What was it? Because, like, it was going along, and then Meghan came in and everything got blown out of proportion, right? What was that? Was Meghan some sort of catalyst for this to happen? And probably the thing that's most striking about, first of all, here's Meghan's South Node, Venus. These two could have definitely been friendly to each other. There's definitely a sense of friendship and sisterhood here. Okay. Meghan has all this Leo energy here. Her Mars is on Kate's moon, which could be a little bit irritating to Kate, but Mars is also not conjunct, but close enough to the North Node to help sort of draw Kate into that North Node, into that place of isolation, maybe asylum, hospitalization, but then that need to take care of herself. But the thing that really sticks out is this here, Pluto. Meghan's Pluto is 2151, and Kate's Saturn, which is square her nodes tightly and sort of the key to her chart, is 2150. So there's something about the soul of Meghan that brings up the biggest issue that Kate has, Saturn square the nodes. Saturn square the nodes. And Pluto is the transformer. So Pluto is going to create the need for change. Okay. The need for change. They have Neptune pretty close because they're born only a year apart. Their Uranus is a little different. Kate has Uranus in Sag, and Meghan has Uranus in Scorpio. And we'll look at one more thing. This is Meghan, and this is Kate on the outside. And here we have Saturn here on Meghan's, Pluto in the fourth house. This is not comfortable, having somebody Saturn on your Pluto in the fourth house. I also want to point out this here. They both have Chiron and Taurus. So they're both wounded, and it's a little bit of a different wound, I think, because of who they are. Meghan Markle has it at 23 of Taurus. This is probably due to the fact, in part, that she's biracial. Because if you're, although she states she didn't really experience a whole lot of prejudice growing up, and then she really experienced it, I think, when she moved to England and everybody was blaming her for everything falling apart, or whatever happened there. I don't know, because I didn't pay attention. But she was having her life threatened, and there was a lot of racist things going on, right? So that's probably connected to her Chiron. Whereas Kate, it's more, I think, about tradition and sort of turning away from tradition with that retrograde Saturn. But either way, there can be body issues here. And of course, Meghan is an actress, so she's probably very familiar, if she doesn't have body issues herself, with, surrounded by people. You can't live in Hollywood and not have issues with your body because you're supposed to be perfect, right? And again, I think Kate also has some body issues. She's a beautiful woman. She's got a beautiful physique, although she's a little bit too thin. I don't think she has enough fat on her body to help, like, shore her up for when she does get sick. But that's the deal. And we also have Mars here on Meghan's Jupiter and Saturn. So they do annoy each other, I think. There's a little irritation here, but there's also this drive to evolve that Meghan brings out in Kate. So all right, so that's what I want to say about all of that. Hold on 1 minute here. So that's my take on Kate and what's happening. Um, when I did her reading, her cards, I didn't think that the marriage would survive, although I did not see how she could get out of it. And I was, and then I watched Whimsy, and she sort of saw a divorce. And so we'll see. We'll see. It's definitely not, um, maybe Kate did what she did. She had the babies, she had the kids, she had the king, the future king. She had her responsibilities, and now it's time for her to have responsibility to herself and her own well-being. And of course, I really do hope that she's able to find um, that stillness that she needs and that sense of peace that we all deserve. Um, I don't think any human being should be put under the kind of pressure that this woman is put under. In fact, after I did my card reading on Kate, and before I did this, I saw one of those shorts that come up that actually said that the whole monarchy and the success of her marriage to William is what's either going to hold the monarchy together or let it collapse. Now, if she's seeing this stuff, nobody. The monarchy, if the monarchy collapses, it's because it's collapsing under the weight of its own, of the fact that we no longer need monarchies. You're not born special. Nobody's born special in relation to everybody else. Everybody's born special. And that's Pluto in Aquarius. And so I know Kate Middleton is probably never going to see this, but I want to reach out to you, Kate. I don't think I could do it, honestly. So I want to thank you for the bravery that you've shown up to this point. And I hope that you find the healing that you need. And I think that there are people who love you, um, and there are people who expect things from you. So I would err on the side of those who love you. And for those who expect things from you, um, tough, tough stuff. All right. Have yourself a great day, everyone. Like and subscribe if you would. If you enjoy these videos, maybe you could share it. Maybe you could give a thumbs up. I do have a Patreon page if you want to support me in that way. And I do personal readings for people with a combination of astrology, numerology, and Kabbalah. The links are below for that. Until next time, have yourself a great day, a great week, a great life. Every day is an opportunity to shine your light. So shine your light, guys. Much love, everyone. Namaste.